I can't believe what I just heard. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got an amazing video to get into, my friends. We have here RFK Jr. saying, of course, the quiet part out loud. He actually put out two major, I just can't believe this, my friends. This shows you everything, and it shows you where I think the rest of the month is going to be going. I've been saying this, I've been calling this for months, that July through November is going to be huge. We're already starting to see it formed on July 2nd. Why did he receive a pardon? We're talking about, of course, Fauci. Check out this amazing clip of RFK, and we got actually a couple of them because he said a couple amazing things. And we actually got a ton of other stuff. We're going to be getting into what Charlize Theron just said. It's just kind of unbelievable. It's just totally cringe. We're going to get into actually a ton of huge stories that are happening right now with AI and a bunch of other stuff. We have what's going on this month, my friends. We're going to start seeing, I think, arrests. Yes, I know it sounds crazy. No, it never will happen. They've been saying it forever. We're starting to see it. We actually have hundreds that are already arrested. We'll get into that. But actually, we have a number of things all formulating up to, like I said, you're going to see it. Let's just play this clip here of RFK talking about this. And let's just get into this. Let's play this clip.
He got immunity. Why did he need immunity? Why did he need a pardon in advance?
I wonder why.
What do you think the answer is?
I would be speculating, but I think he was vulnerable. I think he had a lot of liability on creating coronavirus. He was funding.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Everyone was thinking this, have been thinking this, particularly when he got, of course, the pardon. Oh, I wonder if you had anything to do with it. Oh, that's right. It was part of your research. Oh, yeah, this is like so amazing. So we have that coming out. That's just one of the clips. We have, of course, this new prison, the fourth one for Rikers. You got Alcatraz, this new alligator one, and I can't even remember what the other one's called, but they're already starting to go. They're already starting to operate. We had a clip from Benny Johnson showing the inside of it. I showed it the other day. They got this thing set up in like 8 days' time. 3,000 people can be housed there. And we're seeing all these stories, people that never would get in trouble before, now being called, of course, before Congress. We have, of course, this guy who might actually, believe it or not, be behind, of course, bars before he's actually gone. I mean, the dude's like 90-something. And maybe also we're talking Fauci. Who knows? We have also a number of other things going on as well. Apparently, our president ending animal testing. So we're seeing a lot of really good positive things going on currently. We're talking about retired laboratory, of course, animals, setting them up for adoption. And of course, on top of this, RFK Jr. said actually a lot of really good things in that interview. 1 in 37 people, or actually 1 in 37 times that someone gets one of these things, on your arm, there's some sort of course, injury. This is one of the things he said. We also have apparently them burying data, burying information. We're talking about particular organizations that are supposed to be responsible for looking out for you and I. 1,135% increase in autism. And other things like this were discussed in the interview. And they would do tricks to sort of get away from presenting certain things in the data. Using those that are younger, of course, to essentially mask some of the data. They've done a lot of these things. They refuse to use certain systems they set in place, saying they're not reliable, so we can't trust what it says. Literally just completely allowing themselves a free pass for everything they've done. A free pass. And hoping that you and I don't figure it out. Hoping you and I don't figure it out, of course. We have here, this was from, was it 2 days ago, a day ago? 324 arrests in the GOV, healthcare fraud. This is just the beginning, I think. It's just weird how the timing is perfect with these prisons that are being, of course, set up and starting to operate. I thought it was all about just those that are illegal, of course, in our country. No, it isn't. It's actually for other things. I think some of them have been playing coy. You got Cash, you got Pam. Just waiting for all this stuff to get set up and prepared. I hope that's the case. I really hope so, because I'm really disappointed in those two. So far, they haven't really done anything. But maybe that's because of this. I don't know. If nothing happens in the next 6 months, they're terrible. But I think we know there is going to be stuff happening, because we have a number of predictions saying this that are now coming true. That are now coming true. And we're going to get into that a little bit in this video. We have him, our president, even talking about firing Jerome Powell, who is, of course, at the Federal Reserve. And there's actually a way he can do it. A certain cause, which, of course, is now starting to build evidence for. But like I said, we're going to get into a ton of stuff in this video. The next 6 months are supposed to be crazy, my friends. I had a dream about this time. I happened to be in a city without power. That was one of the parts of the dream. And it was a rainstorm while there was no power. I think part of it, obviously, at least, was symbolic. Yeah, so that dream also, by the way, the beginning part of the dream all came true. So I'm thinking that part's probably going to come true, whether it's symbolic or not. Perhaps it might be wise to get this book just in case. The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. If we just so happen to have some cyber hacking, our power substations like they did a couple years ago in Washington State, but they just do it everywhere, might be a little bit of an issue. You might want to have that just in case. Get the printed version, $37 plus shipping. Link is in the description. We also have, of course, the food supply, 25-year shelf life. 3 months worth for $4.97. You're going to definitely want to get that if you have not already as well. Who knows what's next? All that mostly peaceful stuff that happens here and there. Never know what's next. Of course, my website, GR Videos. We're also on X. Actually starting to get a little bit of traction on both X accounts, finally. I think it might actually take off. It's amazing. It reminds me of the old days on YouTube. When I first started, I couldn't hardly get anywhere at first. First couple years was a pain. But eventually I started growing a lot. Now we're at 500,000 subs on the main channel. There is a factor about this bill. It has this AI clause in it, which I really don't like. Theo Vaughn covered it on his podcast, or whatever you call it, where he interviews people. Here you have an interesting interview talking about the AI factor, which, again, I've pointed out that two different people that worked on OpenAI left the company. One of them said he was going to build a bunker for apparently the apocalypse. That doesn't sound very good for scientists. And then the other one put out a website saying that in 2 years it's going to be like Terminator, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, yeah, well, if these guys are working on OpenAI, they get off it and they're like putting out stuff like this, maybe we should be a little bit concerned about OpenAI. Maybe we should be if they're literally the scientists working on it and they're putting out stuff like this, like, by the way, it's going to be like Terminator in 2 years, you might want to listen. I don't know. They're not like just some random person. They actually worked on it.
Artificial intelligence corporations that says no
10 years.
For 10 years, no state or locality can regulate.
This is in the
them.
bill.
And then it talks about zoning and routing, which if some of your listeners may have seen this, like locally, some big corporation wants to put a data center in your backyard. Well, that's what the Congress is trying to.
So, and that was the other point that Elon's been consistent on, was that actually he says AI is a concern, obviously. And then our president puts in this bill, look, 10 years, you can't do anything, states. In 10 years, we might not be here, according to some of these people that worked on OpenAI. I hope they're wrong. I actually think that maybe it's going to turn out good because of God stopping whatever. And now we have Palantir and, however you say this other one, Accenture, partner to modernize our GOV with AI. I mean, seriously? I really don't think this is a good idea. So I think he's being a little bit too positive with AI. He needs to be a little bit more concerned about it. And so there are obviously good things that were in the bill. I'm not saying there isn't anything good. There's a lot of good stuff in the bill. My whole concern was a couple big things in there, and that was one of them. In the overspending, right? Too much pork in it, as usual. Maybe not as much as before, but still, it's not a good thing. And of course, there are some good things. Like I said, child tax credit for 40 million families, ending of overtime taxes on tips. The economic stuff in here for you and I are great. Okay. And the whole thing with the tariffs is awesome. Honestly, and the whole thing with getting rid of taxes for anybody under 200,000 sounds awesome to me. I'm all on board with all that stuff. But my whole thing is that we're going to see a lot of stuff going on in the next 5-6 months. I think it's all going to go the right direction in the end. I think it's because of God that this is going to happen. They're talking about a lot of these prophets. Okay, I've mentioned obviously many times Kim Clement, this man right here, who prophesied about the next so many months from July to November. We're already seeing a lot of it come to pass. This is the guy who predicted that RFK would join, of course, the president before he even got into office back in 2013. This guy did. He also predicted he would be president back in 2009. This guy he's been right about a number of things over the years. All his predictions are very good. And he has a prediction for this year from July onward, and it's already starting to show. It's already starting to show. And I think this is going to lead into some very big things. What RFK Jr. is talking about here in this first clip. Also, the fact that they'd taken away protections from some of our representatives for potential that they could be in prison. We have our federal GOV procuring 4 prisons. And I don't think it's just for those that are here illegally. I think it's for others. Okay, there's also expansions on some other prisons. Yeah, so it's looking interesting. It's looking interesting. And here is another aspect of it. It's not just the GOV. It's the church, it's entertainment, it's Hollywood, it's the whole gamut. Okay? And this was predicted by, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Here it is. Johnny, his last name is Enlow. Let's see if we can get on the screen right. 7 Mountains, prediction here. And he talks about how there's 7 sectors of society that will be completely, all their leadership being, of course, replaced. Talking about the GOV, which we're already seeing that happen. Education, business, media, arts and entertainment, family and religion, which all these things are very important if we're expecting this to turn around, my friends, because it's not going to turn around with just our president. You know that. It's super obvious. We need way more things to happen to get this whole thing to really turn around. And what's interesting is that these months, July through November, are supposed to be when all this happens, or when a lot of this starts happening. And interestingly, today we have televangelist Jimmy Swaggart dies at 90. That's interesting. We had Pope Francis, of course, as well, which also was part of the prediction Kim Clement gave, that in April something would happen. I covered that back when that occurred. There was actually a prediction about that as well, and I covered that. So all these things are happening. We also have Paula White, who was set as head of the faith office. She now is getting caught up in some sort of scandal where she apparently bowed to a woman that considers herself a god. Literally, apparently it's the wife of the man who started the Moonies. The Moonies apparently is a guy who claims that he is essentially Christ on earth. And then his wife was like the daughter of God or something. And this is the lady. And apparently we have a clip of her bowing to this lady Let's see if I can get this on. Let's see if I can get this right. Let's pull it back and let me show you this.
Now, for you who don't know who...
Okay, I'm going to get into that in a sec. Let me back it up. Let's do this one here. Yeah, let's play this.
My last question centers on Paula. In this video, she calls Mrs. Moon mother. Does she really understand what she is saying?
I am so honored to be with you, and what an encouragement to the body of Christ and to you, Mother Moon,
I'll call
for
later.
your tireless efforts and your work as you have continued to bring faith leaders from all over the world to work.
She literally calls herself the only begotten daughter of God. I think that might be not good. Okay, I don't know, man. It just seems a little bit like you're exalting yourself and making yourself into a god. Yeah, I think there's some weird stuff going on there, obviously. And she, Paula White, head of faith office, appointed by her president, for some reason, has decided this is a good idea to say these things, right? And what's interesting is one of the guys who predicted our president would become president, his name's Mark Taylor, called this out back in 2021, called out this lady back in 2021. I can show you that, I think. Maybe. Let's see if I can find it really quick. I don't have all the stuff loaded exactly. Here it is. I found it already. That's pretty quick. Here we go. So he predicted this way back when in 2021 that this would occur and that God will undo this. So let's see if I can get on the screen a little bit better. Okay, here we go. The Spirit of God says another betrayal from the president's spiritual advisory board has taken place. Jezebel whispers, "It's complete. We have the king's ear. I control who speaks to the king. No true prophet of the living God will ever reach him. Only my soothsayers will speak. The betrayer sits at the king's table." And I don't know if I can show on the screen. There we go. The time has come to hold all the enemies of the living God, creator of heaven and earth, accountable for their things they've done against mankind. So this apparently is God saying that he's going to undo this, which is interesting because of the timing we're in currently, that maybe we're going to see Paula get in a little bit of trouble here and she'll be removed. Of course, she's also friends with Joni Lamb, head of, what is it called? Daystar Ministries, and they got a massive scandal going on as well. This is in D.C., this picture. I don't think our president wants to be associated with these people once he knows all these things. And of course, I don't need to play this clip about the Moonies, but essentially, basically they came out of a church and became something else, some sort of cult, where the guy thinks he was essentially representing God on earth and stuff, and his wife was the only begotten daughter of God. So clearly not good. Then we got actually a number of other stories here. We have this new movie called Elio. I think it's called, is that how you say it? Disney's Elio. That came out. It's for obviously kids, the movie. And apparently, check out what's in the movie. This is pretty crazy.
That's exactly what this new Disney Elio movie is teaching your children. Sigil magic, crystal magic, summoning aliens.
Yeah, so of course this movie has to do with aliens. But they throw all this other stuff in it and they try to make it look innocent. And I went and looked up this whole thing with Sigil. And it does look literally like it. Let me show you this. Let me hit refresh and show you the picture. Let's see if I can get it on the screen. 1 second here. And I'll show you how it actually looks the same. Here we go. So they show this scene here, right? And I went and looked it up. And it actually looks very similar. You can see how they have these symbols like this. And this has kind of got a similar theme to it. Trying to call on, of course, aliens, which obviously are not, if you follow my channel, they're not what they say they are. They're basically demons. And so that's something that you may want to avoid in the movie theaters. Now, on the other hand, we do have a good movie that's supposed to be coming out very soon here, a sequel. We're talking Mel Gibson's movie. Remember the movie The Passion? This is supposed to be coming out in the not so distant future, so that's something rather definitely want to see. We have, of course, Charlize Theron. Is that how you say her name? Apparently talking that millions of people are, of course, going to die because of these. We're talking USAID being cut. Check this out.
It's quite devastating what's going to happen with something that to me is so, I don't want to make it sound trivia, but it's less than 1% of this budget that everybody is talking about. And when you compare that to the millions of people that are going to die.
1%, really? It was more than 1%. Obviously, that was cut. And she also goes on to criticize those that went to Jeff Bezos' wedding in Venice. Obviously, you got the Kardashians there. You have her complaining here about that, about Jeff Bezos' wedding, with a shocking insult.
Here in Los Angeles, in the U.S., and across the globe, we're moving backwards fast. Immigration policy.
Oh my goodness, she's totally into the Kool-Aid, my friends. Saying like everyone's, of course, dying because of what our president's doing. Basically, is what she starts saying.
These not criminals. Women's rights are becoming less and less every day.
Oh my God.
Queer and trans lives.
Where does she get all this from? I don't know. At any rate, so you got that going on. We have also, and our whole world is just, our whole culture is just pretty much needing to be saved. That is for sure. You have these fans, of course, models that apparently are making millions of dollars. I've talked about it in a previous video. We have another clip here, a different one. What is she saying here? She says, would have nothing without the men who are funding them. Where are the male role models, right? Well, I think that's interesting. She also says something else back here. What was it? Yeah, let me just play this clip.
$54,000 in a week. I need to know what the month ended like. $400,000. Is that good?
There has been a problem here that women are now leading in society, and this is what we see. This is what they're embracing, the easy way out, the low-hanging fruit, whatever it may be.
So she says it's men, but then she starts talking about all the women doing this. So, of course, what I think it really comes back to is our society and how it's all screwed up. And it comes back to feminism, which I think is essentially made the marriage something that no one wants to do, particularly those that are younger, because, of course, the laws that are set in place, how people are taught growing up. A lot of women are told they're, the same as, of course, a man. And they go out into the world as if they are a man. And so this whole setup is what's causing the trouble in our society and causing these women to make so much money on those websites. But there is a solution to this. And I think it comes back to what we talked about earlier with the Federal Reserve, because they are the ones who actually started to where they could print money and take the value out of your own wallet. We would actually make almost 3 times as much money as wages right now if the dollar was still on the gold standard and never was taken off it back in 1971. You would not need 2 parents in the home working if they wouldn't have done that. So this was intentional. They have actually purposely screwed up society. And if they would have left the dollar on the gold reserve and stopped stealing the value of our dollar from you and I would not have to have 2 people in the home working. 1 person in the home could work. The other one would not have to. And then if we had a culture that taught marriage and normal stuff, then we would have a thriving, population growth and all that kind of stuff. So we need to literally clean house with all of this. You can't just fix one and expect all the other things to be fixed. You need to fix everything because you got like 20 things out of line here. You fix them all, then it will start operating correctly as it would naturally. At any rate, that's my video. Also, I was going to mention this too. I guess I should throw this in here if you didn't see my last video. The fact is also the church has gotten off track as well. So I feel like the devil literally did this all throughout society. Like 100 different things he changed just so it all would go a certain direction, which is exactly what has happened. The church also has made it to where we would have this massive culture rift where you have sort of like anything goes or, being in the church and everything's a sin kind of thing. So this sort of dichotomy was created by the devil. And I think it was through one verse And I've talked about this before, although it doesn't seem like it's related. Once you understand it, it makes sense. There's a verse in the New Testament, Matthew 5:27-28. You've heard that it has been said of old time, do not commit adultery, but I say unto you, whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery in his heart. You actually look at the original translation. This word here is wife, guneka. And if you actually look at the old versions of scripture from the 1500s, almost all of them say wife. The very first English translation says wife. He's actually paraphrasing in Greek, the Greek Septuagint. He's actually paraphrasing Exodus 20. And no one seems to know this. It says, do not covet thy neighbor's wife in Exodus 20, the 10th commandment. It's literally the same term, guneka, which means wife, in both passages. This is the Greek Old Testament. It also has the word for desire. It's the exact same word as well. He's literally paraphrasing the 10th commandment. And they purposely translated it incorrectly. And this comes from Gnosticism. And this is what's caused this dichotomy in our society. So what I think the devil does is he corrupts both sides intentionally. He'll have a side that looks good, but is not, because it has errors, like the Pharisees, for example. And then you'll have the other side. So it's kind of like what we see in our GOV, the left and the right. Neither one's perfect. Both bad options in some respects, one of them better than the other one. The church is obviously the better option, but if it's got bad teaching, it's weak. If it's divided, it's weak. And you can see in the church that there's divided groups. You have all these denominations. All this stuff was intentional by the devil to weaken the church, to make it so it can't do anything. And also then he could go in and destroy everything else in society. And it's not likely we're going to get the 20-year-olds anyways. You and I don't look 20 anymore, so...
Well, it's interesting. I mean, some of my music content, I think that brings folks in from all age groups.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I think that's something that seems to transcend. And it is true that a lot of the relationship kind of conversations, a lot of younger guys are trying to prevent from making a lot of the mistakes that they're seeing older men make. And they'll see like their dad or their uncle, get divorced and all the crap that goes down, what happens to him, and getting alienated from his kids and losing his house and living in his car and all this kind of crazy stuff that happens to a lot of guys.
Well, a lot of that's the state too. A lot of it's the state. Like I heard all the crazy stories in Michigan. My dad told me a lot of crazy stories. But you don't hear about them as much in states that are a little bit more favorable to men. You don't hear it as bad, at least.
Not as much, but there's no place.
But it's still not good.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? Child support is still a thing everywhere in the United States.
Yeah. Right.
Alimony is still something everywhere in the United States. Yeah. Parental alienation is still primarily women doing that to their ex-husbands, alienating them from their kids. That's a constant thing.
Yeah, I saw a tweet where this lady's like trying to date. She says, "I'm a Christian. I'm going to save myself for marriage. I have full custody of my 2 kids," and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, we know how you got full custody there.
Oh, right.
Yeah. She's like, I need to be in control. I got full custody, but I'm a good girl. So
right. I was looking at some certain trending sort of topics, things going down, and one of the things that's folks are talking about quite a bit right now is how AI is being more and more involved in production of videos. And there's these AI influencers and all this kind of stuff. And it's gotten to the point where it's very difficult to tell, but every once in a while, something unnatural will happen. Like their hand will have a glitch or a tattoo will be moving around on their arm or something like that. But it's incredibly realistic. And of course, the way it's doing it is by, gathering all of this information from these apps and stuff that we have, especially like a lot of these apps that do like, what do they do? They do like filters and things. So that technology has gotten really good as far as how to sort of mask, make you look something like something else, and also track your mouth movements and, expressions that are stuff that's happening with your eyes and, the shape of your ears and, and stuff, different gestures and stuff and movements that people do.
I don't think AI is going to replace you and me. I don't think so. I think that a lot of people don't want to watch an AI to get advice, but
that's true.
I do think that you're going to see a lot more of this kind of thing right here, where you have like Bigfoot, and silly stuff like this. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah. I've been watching those. Those are funny, man.
Sip.
Yeah, those are funny, dude.
I'm gonna crash out. I don't know what was in that, but I can't freaking sleep. Might as well get morning scrub ready. I'm tweaking.
Boys, I'm cooking another massive trout.
Boys.
It's some funny stuff out there, man. I saw even one with immigration. It was really funny too. It was like a Bigfoot doing immigration and stuff, Right. Yeah, I think those are going to go viral. I think there's going to be a lot of funny stuff like that. But I saw even ones with like Jesus and the disciples and just random, famous people doing like vlogs or whatever. It's kind of silly, but I don't think it's going to replace you and I. I really don't think we got to worry about that. I hope I'm right.
Something else I noticed, of course, video is, still king. That's still the biggest game in town as far as taking in information. Popularity of TikTok is really surging with Gen Z. That's up. Let's see here. Now, one thing, and I was looking at this one. Where did that go? I had a chart. Oh, here it is. So there is this chart, and maybe I can show this.
Yeah, sure. Show it.
Let's see here. Wait a minute.
I need to get a TikTok account going. I don't have any TikTok account going yet. I'm still trying to get X going, man. I got a Rumble. I got that kind of going a little bit. I need to get X really going. Maybe I'll do a TikTok eventually. I'm just not into short stuff. All
Can
right,
you see that?
Yeah, I'm just not into short videos. I can't stand it really.
Now, so check it out. So what this is you can see the black is TV.
Right, TV, yep.
And you see that other stuff is social media and like videos like TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, this kind of thing. So you see that for the first time, you see right there at the end, 235.1 versus 230 right there. Social media has just eclipsed television.
And that's very concerning for those, of course, at the top, because they want to control that. And
Right.
I think they're having a lot of hard times. So it's really concerning. This is what looking at Germany. Let me show you this. This is really interesting. Did you see this thing about Germany where they arrested 170 people? This is so ridiculous. I've been showing this on my channel. Let me show you this. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. So 170 people were raided in Germany for criticizing politicians on social media. Germany started a criminal investigation into social media user for mocking politician for being fat. And she literally is overweight. And it's just like, you get your door kicked down because you said she's a fact. You literally say a fact about someone and you get your door kicked down and you get arrested. Like, this is while they have all these immigrants, of course, running, amok in some of their areas, and they just completely ignore that because, it's racist to deal with them. But if you're a person who actually was born in that country and you criticize your politician, you might have your door kicked down. I even saw in UK, I saw a grandma get her door kicked down, and she's like watching TV, and she like posted something on Facebook and they arrested her. At any rate, that's my video. I'm kind of wondering what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.